Uhuru, everyone. Welcome to this meeting, Justice for George Floyd, Reparations to the African Community. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight in this Zoom meeting sponsored by the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, the organization of white people formed by and working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. We are holding this meeting tonight in recognition and in solidarity with the incredible African resistance that is sweeping not just the United States, but the entire world in response to the latest horrific example of the colonial violence and genocide against African people that has characterized US government and European government and white power's treatment of African people for the last 600 years since the inception of this social system that we live under today. I am Jesse Neville. I'm a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee and the national chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And I want to join the hundreds of people who are joining this meeting tonight who want to take a stand on the side of the African community, on the side of the Black community inside this country and around the world, and on the side of all oppressed peoples who are fighting for freedom and justice and an end to the colonial murder of their people that has gone on for far too long. This meeting tonight will be kicked off with an overview from the founder and leader of the Uhuru movement, the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, my leadership, our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. We are extremely honored to be joined by Chairman Omali Yeshitela and to have Chairman Omali, who fought from the 1960s until now, unwavering, uncompromising, unyielding every single day in fighting to advance the struggle of African people and all oppressed people around the world for self-determination and power over their own lives and resources. So we're extremely honored to have Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is a beloved and celebrated leader of the African Revolution, the leader of the revolution, who is known and appreciated around the world by African people and by other oppressed people and by those of us in the white community who stand in solidarity with the struggle for Black power. We are also very honored to be joined by Akilé Anai, who is a brilliant leader within the African People's Socialist Party, who leads the Department of Agitation and Propaganda, the vast media apparatus of the African People's Socialist Party that includes the Burning Spear newspaper. Director Akilé has been on the front lines. She's run for city council. She was the first candidate to run on a platform of reparations to the Black community. And she is an amazing and inspiring speaker and leader who will be speaking to us tonight about what we must do to take a stand of genuine principled solidarity as white people with a struggle of African people, not to end the racist ideas in our heads, which will change nothing, but to end the system of colonialism. And we will also be joined by Chairwoman Penny Hess, who is the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee. This is the first white person who joined the organization that the Uhuru movement, led by the Black working class, built to give us white people a way to take a stand in principled solidarity with African people. In 1976, 44 years ago, that organization was formed. Penny Hess was there, and she is here today, and she continues to lead and define this stance of white solidarity with Black power. She is also the author of Overturning the Culture of Violence, a book that everybody should read who wants to take a genuine anti-colonial stance. And I also want to plug and recommend Chairman Omali Yeshitela's many books, including Vanguard, The Advanced Detachment of the African Revolution, for those of us who are ready to be ideologically armed to go into the world and do our part inside the belly of the beast. So before I turn it over to our first presenter, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, I would like to read to you the principles of unity of the organization sponsoring this meeting tonight. The Uhuru Solidarity Movement has 3 principles of unity. Our first principle of unity is that we are under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. USM is under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, which is a revolutionary party of the African working class struggling for the liberation and unification of Africa and African people everywhere. Our work as USM is held accountable to the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. We are a strategic front of the African liberation movement inside the white community, bringing the struggle for Black power and African self-determination into the belly of the beast. That's principle number one. Principle number two, we organize our own white community for reparations to the African community. We organize in the white community for reparations by raising resources for the programs of the African People's Socialist Party. We call it material solidarity, and it is the cornerstone of our work. We go back into white society where the stolen wealth of African people is hoarded, and we work to raise resources as a concrete act of reparations and solidarity with African liberation. As white people, we recognize it is not our role to go into, nor is it our right to go into the African community or the Mexican community or the indigenous community and try to tell them how their struggle should be led. They tell us what we have to do, and we do it. We carry out that mission, which is to organize our own white people to stand in solidarity with African liberation. White society rests on a pedestal of the oppression of African and indigenous people, and white people have a completely different reality from African people because of our relationship, the ones who benefited from this social system. And we believe, as Che Guevara once said, solidarity is not a matter of well-wishing, but sharing the same fate in victory or in death. And finally, we stand in solidarity with African self-determination. We unconditionally unite with the right of African people to lead their own struggle for freedom and self-determination. We unite with the leadership of the African working class who set the terms for their own liberation struggle. And as our first presenter, Chairman Omali Yeshitela of the African People's Socialist Party famously said, African people are their own liberators. So before I turn it over to Chairman Omali Yeshitela, I want to call on you, every single one of you, to join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. We want to recruit you. We want to win you. We want you in our ranks. We have to be organized under the leadership of the African Liberation Movement. We have to do our part, white people. So by the time this meeting is over, I hope all of you, every single one of you that is in this meeting, becomes a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement at uhurusolidarity.org/join. And we're going to be talking a lot more about what that means. So without any further ado, it is my incredible honor to introduce the founder and leader of the international Uhuru movement and the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Uhuru.
Uhuru. First of all, I wanted to express my appreciation to Comrade Jesse for that introduction. And I would like to also welcome all of you who are attending this extraordinarily significant meeting on this evening. Some of you may know that just a few minutes ago, US President Donald Trump indicated that he was going to be deploying, first, that he had called the governors, all the governors, and told them that they should take control, use whatever force necessary to take control of the streets. Secondly, he indicated that if they didn't, he would, that he's going to send thousands, he said, and thousands of well-armed troops to take the streets in this country. It's a statement about where things are today. And in fact, it's been this way all the time, but it is now the crisis of this system is exposing itself to such an extent that it can no longer be hidden what the United States government actually is and its relationship, especially with African people and with oppressed peoples in this country and around the world. So I want to thank you for coming to this meeting because there's some serious stuff that we need to talk about. I want to thank the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, the African People's Solidarity Committee, for making this meeting happen. I think that among the things that we have to recognize is that obviously what we see occurring throughout this country in terms of city after city, many of them going up in flames. Mobilizations throughout the country, more than 170 cities have seen demonstrations occur in this country over the last few days. And the numbers are growing and have been growing. And that this is really an extraordinary thing. Obviously, it is not just about the death, the murder, the brutal, grotesque, torturous murder of this comrade, George Floyd. It is bigger than that. And it is something that resonates throughout this country. And not only does it resonate throughout this country, it's resonating throughout the world. And that's something that's important for us to recognize as well. Because people in Palestine are standing up right now and expressing solidarity with African people in this country, stating themselves that Palestinian lives matter, African lives or Black lives matter, as they say. African people in Australia are talking about how they've experienced the same thing, relatives who have been suffocated in a similar fashion. And there's cries. One woman said, I heard him go, I can't breathe 11 times. And this was in Australia they're talking about. We've seen incredible statements that's trying to come from peoples all around the world in solidarity with this struggle. There's a growing recognition of what the United States government really is. And this is a call to you who are in this meeting, because we've gone through some of this before. When I say we, I mean the whole Black revolution of the 1960s saw something similar when city after city was set to the torch by people, African people, Black people, who had determined that we would no longer live under the conditions that were imposed on us. This is the process that also facilitated and fueled the struggle by the Mexican people. It fueled the struggle of women in this country, of homosexuals in this country. That's why there, in addition to there being a Black liberation movement, there emerged a women's liberation movement, a gay liberation movement. All of these liberation movements were facilitated by the struggle of African people in this country, because the oppression of African people is fundamental to the existence and the founding of the social system, which was founded on slavery and genocide. And when we say that what has to happen now is we look at what's happening in the world, we see the Secretary General of the United Nations has come out and has said that the United States has to be careful how it's treating people who are demonstrating in this country. The European Union has put out a gentle statement suggesting that the United States had to be careful of the rule of law in terms of dealing with people who are mobilizing, African people who are struggling in this country. The Iranian people have been saying, and along with the Chinese, about how the United States is a hypocritical state, how they go around condemning other peoples and other countries on the one hand, while on the other hand, what we see happening with African people and this resistance is clear that the real culprit in international affairs and of oppression and exploitation in this world and in the United States itself is the United States government. More and more people are rising up and making the statements. And the fact is that what is happening with this explosion of resistance by African people in this country to this murder, and the solidarity of sorts that have been demonstrated by other people with African people in this murder, what is happening is that it has made it impossible for the United States to pretend to be this representative of democracy and fair play around the world. It has never been true, and people knew that around the world. But the explosion of this resistance has made it absolutely impossible for the United States to hide what it is involved in doing and how it treats people around the world. This is important for us to understand. I want to say what is critical for us, those of us who are participating in this meeting, is that even though we see the resistance that's happening, the resistance that Trump is expressing opposition to, the resistance that Obama is expressing opposition to, this resistance, which is so powerful, it has broken through the grip that the African sellouts, Black petty bourgeoisie in our country, along with the government, along with the Democratic Party, has had on our communities, the ideological, political grip that's been imposed on our community. the African people who now are struggling, a continuation of a struggle that was militarily crushed by the United States government in the 1960s, when people recognized that there was such a thing as the Black Panther Party, when people recognized that there was such a thing as the incredible Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and what have you. And sometimes we celebrate the destruction of the Black Panther Party and other revolutionary organizations. We celebrate the lives of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. But what most people do not clearly understand is that the deaths of all these people was manifestation of a cruel oppression, of suppression of a revolutionary movement of African people in this country. It was crushing a movement. People were fighting for happiness and the return of resources stolen from us, for our dignity as a people, to end the humiliation, to end the fact that our children will never be able to see a future, to end the reality that all of our communities everywhere we live were controlled by some external force and was used to humiliate us as a people. And so this is what happened. We had a magnificent movement, and it was clear that this movement was struggling for liberation. It was clear that this movement was struggling against colonialism. That became the critical element, the critical factor in the struggle of Black people in this country that was recognized by all the peoples around the world. Other countries recognized it. People gave refuge to the struggles of African people who were engaged in a clear struggle for liberation and against the colonial domination of our people. That was Cuba, that was Algeria, there was other countries around the world which recognized exactly what we were fighting for. But with the murder of Malcolm, the murder of King, the murder of members of the Black Panther Party, the massive jailings of militants who were trying to fight for the freedom of our people, then this counterinsurgency was put in place that has existed now for more than 2 generations, almost 3 generations. And so there has not been an obvious existence of this movement except for what was in the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement, because we have been intent to complete the Black Revolution that was crushed by the United States government and to break free of the ideological and political trap that the Democratic Party, that the Black liberals and what have you, and white liberals had locked us in. We had a situation where we had a program in the Black Panther Party. We had a program with the Hunter militant organizations of Jomo. Malcolm X was articulating a program. Martin Luther King himself was articulating a program talking about a whole struggle against a war against poverty, a whole poor people's movement. And he was assassinated. And all of these folk were assassinated. We had died, Black people died trying to just win the right to vote. Our church bombed, our children were murdered. They were assassinated in this whole process. And then the time this happens in 1965, that's when you saw universal suffrage happen in this country for the first time. Now African people were given the right to vote. But by now, the war against the African movement itself has been so severe. Our organization is destroyed, mostly members jailed and dispersed, so that there is no way for the movement to articulate what our own interests of the people are. And the only thing that we were left with was the Democratic Party. And the program that was presented to us was the program of the Democratic Party. We had no independent movement. And right now, majority of African people who participate in political life participate in the Democratic Party because this government succeeded in destroying the independent organizations, most of them of our people, except they didn't succeed. That's why you're here today, because the African People's Socialist Party is here. We built the Uhuru movement and we have never, 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 never stopped struggling. So we see all of these struggles happening. We see it happening everywhere. And one thing is clear, that there is no center there. And in some ways people say, well, that's good, there's no center, but there is no center. There are no demands coming from this struggle. So that even if people wanted to unite with us, they don't know the demands that they should be uniting with. And so what our responsibility is to go ahead and raise those demands and to build organization, more organization that raises up the true interests of the African people in this country, that allows us to, you to unite not only with African, but the oppressed peoples and exploited peoples around the world. For one thing, we want to make it clear that we are not fighting against racism. You're in the wrong place if you are involved in a struggle against racism. Our struggle is against colonial domination. To fight against racism means that white people are in the center. Now, to fight against racism is something about you. What we have to say is the struggle is against colonialism, which is about us. We want an end, a total end to the alien, hostile, alien, and foreign domination of African people. That's what colonialism is. It has to end. And for that to end, it means that we have to become a self-governing people once again. And that's what we want you to unite with. We want you to unite with the struggle against colonialism. You must recognize, if you want to get to the bottom of this, and I know you do, because people continue to say, what the hell is happening here? Why does America act the way it does? Because the truth of the matter is America is a settler state. In the same way the apartheid regime of South Africa was a settler state. In the same way the state of Israel occupying Palestinian land is a settler state, where Europeans have left Europe and gone to other lands and taken those lands and subdued the people on those lands, and then renamed those lands and renamed themselves to act like they've always been there. This is a settler state. In the same way Australia is a settler state. In the same way New Zealand is a settler state. That's what the United States is. And African people exist inside the United States as a domestic colony, which is a colony that's distinguished from the relationship, for example, that France had with Algeria when it was dominating Algeria as a colonial power, that France had with Vietnam when it was dominating Vietnam as a colonial power, that the US had with Vietnam when it was dominating Vietnam as a colonial power. A difference is this: colonies have traditionally most often been recognized as instances where one country, one power invaded and controlled another power on a people on another land. In this instance, the colonizer and the colonized occupy the same space. And so it has been confusing to some people, because here we are occupying the same space, and that has allowed some people to say, well, we're all Americans. But data and statistics show we are not all Americans. That's why when we look at what they call coronavirus, and we call it colonial virus, the grave disparity where 2.5 times as many African people on average are dying from this thing than white people. We're on the same land space. We're in the same territory. Why the hell is that the case? Why the hell is it that we have a situation where African people in this country, they estimate have a wealth that something like, and take an example of Boston, where the income, the medium income, a medium wealth in the African community is only $8. This is in the United States. This is a distinctive difference in the health conditions that we see. The jail cells filled with Black people. All of this is a consequence of colonialism. And we need you to unite in opposition to colonialism. That's what this discussion is about, because you can't understand anything else that's going on if you don't understand colonialism. So we're saying that they like to talk about America being a nation of immigrants. That's a lie. America is not a nation. It is a prison of nations. Ask the Mexicans. Ask the so-called Indians, which are people living in concentration camps that they call Indian reservations, the indigenous populations here. There is no American nation. It's a prison of nations. Settlers have come here, imprisoned African people, imprisoned the traditional historical custodians of this land, taken benefit of the land and taken benefit of the free stolen labor of African people. That's what we are fighting against right now. So we need for you to start to unite with the support the African anti-colonial struggle. Don't worry about racism, because most people no longer care whether white people like us or not. The question is, can you unite with our right and our struggle to be free and independent? 1. 2, you must recognize that we are not Americans. We are not people of color. We are African people. We have an identity. We are African people, and that identity has been obscured, in some ways erased from obvious visibility. But we are a people. We are African people. And secondly, and beyond that, we are not just Africans here. We're not African Americans. We are Africans, period. We are part of an African nation that has been forcibly dispersed at gunpoint. We didn't get to this country, come here looking for a better way of life. We lost a better way of life as a consequence of having been kidnapped and brought here against our will and dispersed around the world, where all of our labor and resources have gone to enrich Europe enriched the settlers at our expense. So you must recognize that we are a nation. You have to also support the demand that all US troops out of Africa, every single one of them, leave Africa, which is the national homeland of African people. You have to unite with the demand for reparations. Reparations. This is a critical question right now at this moment, because people are crying about a target and things like that, banks which may have been destroyed during this rebellion. But if you understand the question of reparations, as many Africans do understand the question of reparations, then you understand that if we were stealing something, we'd be stealing from ourselves, because everything of value that is there was created by African people ourselves. Reparations are due to African people. You must unite with that demand. And when it comes to, because it's not just a matter of dealing with one death, and that's being exposed to us by what's happening throughout this country, and also the experience that you have and the feelings that you have about this matter, the instincts that you have about the situation clearly demonstrates it's more than just a question of racism and not liking Black people. In fact, the conditions of African people in this country and around the world is similar and comes from similar circumstances as the condition of people in Venezuela, as the condition of people who are terrorized by the United States government and trying to starve them to death in Iran, as the condition of people in occupied Palestine that's called Israel, which is nothing but a military outpost for US imperialism, as the condition of people in Syria and all over the continent of Africa, Haiti, and the rest of it. That's the situation. There is no other explanation for why all of the wealth in the world seems to be concentrated in white communities someplace, and the rest of us are in terrible states of existence. So you must demand the immediate release of every political prisoner, African political prisoner. These are the kinds of stances that we're calling on you to take. And I just want to say that America is every day is being severely undermined. This is a dying empire, and it's becoming obvious to everybody, which is why Trump is talking about putting troops in the streets, and he may do that. And what he's doing, of course, is escalating a process and closing the doors to anybody who might even think about some kind of peaceful change. He's closing the doors. And what you and I must understand is that insurrection even and the kinds of resistance that we've seen, that is not the same as revolution. Revolution means to overturn this system, overturn the relationship that we have with the system. And for that, it takes conscious individuals to involve ourselves. We need to go ahead and speak to the demands that I'm talking about now, so that it informs our movement, so that not only do we in this meeting, Africans every place else understand what the struggle is about, because there are people who engage right now in this movement. They just know what's happening to them right now. We have to provide the leadership, the ideological leadership for that. And we have to let the world know that this is what's going on, so that if there's an intent to offer some kind of solidarity with the struggle, it's not a struggle with what they call racism, which is to make people, white people like us, which would be silly. Nobody, how can anybody say that we're going to join with Black people who are trying to make white people like them? That's a stupid struggle. So we do have interests. We have material interests. And to fight against racism presupposes that we do not have material interests of our own. It's just some subjective need to have a relationship with white people, which makes us silly, and we're not silly. So we're asking you to unite with us around these principles that I just mentioned, that we have to go ahead and build a powerful movement that you need to participate in. And most of you, I think, are part of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And those of you who are not need to come on board. We have a lot of work to do. And given Trump's statement just a few minutes ago, the situation grows more critical every day. But for the world, it's becoming clearer that America is a dying empire. It has lost any sense of significance, prestige, moral authority that it's ever had. And because that moral authority was rooted in the exploitation and oppression of African people and other people who are colonized specifically inside the United States, but other places as well. So I just want to really express my appreciation again for all of you who have come to this conference. And let's go ahead and go to work and turn this sucker right side up. The world must be turned right side up. It must be taken out of the hands of those who exploit us and oppress the peoples of the world. We have to build a movement that will expropriate the expropriators, that will allow Africans and other people around the world who are locked in the death grip of US imperialism to be able to enjoy life and be able to say that our children will have a future, not because of some criminal in the White House, but because we are in control of that future ourselves. Join us in building that future. And that future comes as a consequence of negating the past, negating colonialism, building a future of free people here, ending whole social systems of slaves and masters and bosses and workers, and creating a system where the peoples who produce the value in the world will be able to control that value in the world. So unite with African people here, unite with African people around the world, and unite with a just struggle to destroy a social system based on genocide and exploitation, and to build a real free human existence where people don't have to live in fear of each other and in fear of the terror that's imposed by criminal regimes like the United States. Thank you, comrades, brothers and sisters. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru, thank you so much, Chairman. Just want to really, really salute and appreciate Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And all I can say is that the leader has spoken, the chairman of the revolution has spoken. And I just, as a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, want to express my profound and complete unity with everything that Chairman Omali Yeshitela just said, and all of the demands that the chairman just made, and the call that the chairman made for us to embrace those demands as white people, and to embrace the anti-colonial struggle, and how that is the struggle of African people. The anti-racist thing keeps us in the center. So that is so important for us to understand. And people have already joined the Uhuru Solidarity Movement who were not members yet in the course of this meeting today. We already have some new people who have joined. So we want to thank you. And I want to encourage people to continue doing that all throughout the meeting. We're going to have a call for members, but you don't have to wait. Go to uhurusolidarity.org/join and become a member. We want to announce and shout you out at the end of the meeting. And we want every single person in this meeting today to leave this meeting ready to go, ready to work, like the chairman said, as a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And I also want to make just 2 book recommendations. If you need some reading material, some revolutionary reading material right now to arm you with the theory and the analysis to do this work and to understand the world through the eyes of the African working class, you need to read this book right here, Vanguard, The Advanced Detachment of the African Revolution by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, as well as An Uneasy Equilibrium. They're both available on burningspearmarketplace.com. Go to YouTube, search Chairman Omali Yeshitela. If you haven't seen all the hundreds of hours of presentations that the chairman has given, whether on the streets of Ferguson or in the halls of Oxford Union, the chairman has represented the struggle of the African people around the world. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring our next presenter. It's a great honor to introduce Akilé Anai, who is the director of the African People's Socialist Party's Agitation and Propaganda Department, who was also the first reparations candidate anywhere in the world when she ran in 2017 for city council, and then again in 2009, and advanced past the primary and won massive support all over the world for the reparations demand. So it's a great honor to introduce to you and to bring into this meeting tonight, APSP Agitprop Director Akilé Anai. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Well, I just really want to first salute the chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and appreciate that introduction from Comrade Jesse Neville, and want to just salute the Uhuru Solidarity Movement for this incredible meeting that we're able to have on today. And I have to salute my leadership, the brilliant leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who really just laid out a profound overview in the ground for the discussion that we're having today. And, you know, just this defining the question of what we're struggling against as African people, the whole question of struggling against colonialism versus racism, and just really appreciate the chairman's tireless work for over 50 years to really, you know, not only make that point, but to fight, to build the organization, the capacity for African people everywhere to fight against the colonial system. And, everyone a part of this meeting right now, I imagine is here because they want to do something about what we see happening in the world, and that, people are really looking for answers, trying to really determine, what is the next course of action? What should I do? And genuinely hate what's happening in the world today and want to see some type of fundamental change. And you couldn't be in a better meeting right now than the one that's happening. And so I just really want to salute that process and salute all of you for participating in this. As mentioned, I am the director of Agitation Propaganda for the African People's Socialist Party, which is, the over all of the different institutions that wage the war of ideas, that is able to communicate, get out information, to tell the story of the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement. And we have institutions that are over 50 years old in this department, like the Burning Spear newspaper, which is the oldest revolutionary Black Power newspaper to date, and it's still in production today. And those are one of the things that you can get at burningspearmarketplace.com. We have, our radio stations that broadcast out of St. Petersburg, Florida. We, have the publications that were just mentioned. These are all things that the African People's Socialist Party has been producing, and that, these are institutions that are, that demonstrate economic self-reliance, that demonstrate, power in the hands of the African working class, because they're institutions that, that are in control, that are controlled by the African working class, that we don't have any interest, are beholden to any interest with the ruling class at all, that we have been able to produce this for ourselves, for our people, and for our struggle. And this is just one, and those are just some of the institutions of the 50 institutions that demonstrate the practical work of the African People's Socialist Party and of the Uhuru movement. Because we don't just talk, we are about action, we are about doing. And that's what joining organization, that's what organization should have you doing, is working. Because and I really want to salute and just appreciate the uprisings that we see happening, but the significance of those uprisings is that the real significance of those uprisings will come as a consequence of what the work that we do, which is to turn those uprisings into revolutionary uprisings, to advance our struggle, the revolutionary struggle. And, that is what our task is as the African People's Socialist Party, because we've seen uprisings throughout history, and we'll see many, many more until this system, is destroyed, until it is, until we have finished it off. But our job has to be able to turn the righteous resistance of African people happening everywhere into a struggle towards revolution. And that the struggle for revolution doesn't always look like the uprisings that are happening throughout the world. It looks like this meeting that we're having on today. It looks like, the different political education sessions. It looks like going out and selling the Burning Spear newspaper. It looks like going and doing outreach at the different demonstrations, talking to people, getting contact information. It looks like being in meetings. It is the day in and day out work that keep these institutions of Black power and self-determination running. Like, that's the work of the revolution. And that's work that all of us can be a part of. And the work of reparations, winning reparations, because the whole question of where, because reparations isn't a new discussion. It's a discussion that the party put in, and made a household word, just in looking at the history of our party and how the party initiated world tribunals in 1982 and had 12 consecutive world tribunals on reparations. So the party really advanced this question. People are wondering why people are talking about reparations today. It's because of the work of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party. And the question of, well, where is reparations going to come from? How is that going to happen? The African People's Socialist Party has, answered that question. And that part of reparations looks like the work that the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the function of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement is in, going into the belly of the beast, organizing white people that can be won to the struggle and turning over stolen resources back into the hands of the African Revolution. And that's part of what reparations looks like. Part of the other side of reparations is, of course, what Chairman just talked about, which is, expropriating the expropriators, taking back our resources, how we see happening in these various places. So, that's the work that we have to do including the work that all of you have to do in this meeting, is to join the struggle and join under the leadership of the African working class, under the African People's Socialist Party. And that's a really, really important question. And the party really opened up this opportunity over 40 years ago for white people to be able to participate in this process. The African People's Socialist Party answered this question: what about the white people? And that gave the white population an opportunity to abandon the interests of their own ruling class and to side with the struggles of the oppressed. That's what the African People's Socialist Party did. And when we look at even the whole question of, why you're in this meeting today, is probably most likely a consequence of the work and the influence that the party has had in the world of, struggling over this question of solidarity with Black power. And the question is, like, when we're coming into political life and we're learning these words and we see like the whole question of solidarity, like, we have to redefine what that even is, because, solidarity, is defined for us as, material and principled solidarity with the struggle of African people under our leadership. And, some of the definitions you see thrown around, or the examples of solidarity you see today during these, the uprisings and things like that, are anti-racist workshops and, things of that nature, and, unlearning your racism classes and sensitivity trainings and, things of that nature that don't do anything to solve the fundamental problem that African and colonized people are confronted with. And it doesn't require white people to take any real action to change the conditions. Because while white people can feel bad or sympathetic towards the struggle, it doesn't mean that white people then have to stop living off of the resources and the labor of African and colonized people. And it still means that white people will still exercise the power of the state over African lives. What we see happening, even in recent viral videos of that white woman who called the police on an African bird watcher. I mean, this is what the white population can continue to do, sucking the blood, and living off of the blood of African people, and not having to take any real stance other than the fact that, I consider myself anti-racist. And of course that does not work, and it doesn't advance our struggle. So solidarity, genuine solidarity, has been defined this way, and that it has to happen on the terms of African people. It has to happen on the terms of colonized people. It cannot happen on white people's terms, because then that means we have a white people's revolution. We have a revolution that benefits white people. We have a struggle that benefits, and advances the interests of, what white people want to do. We can't have that. It has to be determined by African people. And that's what, this whole process is about as well. So, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about, to that point, talk a little bit about the elections that we were involved in. And they were really critical elections that were waged. And the party didn't participate in the electoral process thinking that, voting would win African people our freedom, because we didn't vote our way into slavery and colonialism, as Chairman has pointed out. That we didn't get here as a consequence of voting to be here. And therefore the oppressor is not going to give the tools to the oppressed to free themselves. That's not going to happen. So we didn't participate in the electoral arena to in expecting that revolution or freedom would come for African people. We participated partly in the electoral arena to advance these issues, to put out these issues, to make them mainstream. And that's exactly what we did in 2017. And that wasn't the first electoral campaign that the party ever ran. In fact, the chairman ran for office here in the city of St. Petersburg. But in 2017, we raised this question of reparations up, and we put it on the ballot. And we gave the city of St. Pete and the so-called white progressives the opportunity to be progressive. We gave them the opportunity, African working class community here in St. Petersburg, Florida, where reparations meant, that the St. Pete city government would pay reparations to African people, would support economic development versus a public policy that currently exists, public policy of police containment in our community, the same type of police containment that led to the murder like George Floyd. So, that these were the types of demands and the platforms that we were running on. And we gave, the progressives of St. Pete, the city that considers itself the most progressive city in this country, the opportunity to vote for reparations. And they called us lunatic, they called it a lunatic fringe politic. They said it could never win in a majority white city. And, these are the same, the same white people that, say that, Trump is the worst thing that could ever happen. And if you don't vote out Trump, we're all going to be screwed, etc. Meanwhile, these same people are screwing over Africans every single day. So we gave the white population here in this city the opportunity to vote for reparations. And when you bring up this question of reparations to the so-called anti-racist, the celebrities you see now that are anti-racist, the billionaires, the corporations that are now anti-racist, but you bring up the question of reparations as the condition for genuine solidarity, and that's where the line is drawn. It is drawn right there, and that's how we determine what solidarity really looks like, is the understanding that the resources that are in the white world belong to African people, and that must be turned over, and that must be part of white people's work in this struggle. Must be a serious fight to turn over those resources, to put them back in the possession of the African working class. And that's where the line always gets drawn, and that's where it was drawn in 2017, and it was drawn again in 2019, but it was deepened. And you could see now all of the, at one point we were lunatic fringe politic, and then 2 years later you see these Democratic Party presidential hopefuls talking about reparations and presenting their so-called reparations plans. And this, of course, is due to the struggle that the African People's Socialist Party has been waging all of these years. And of course, even that definition and the plans they were putting forth wasn't genuine reparations. And in fact, they were ways to really try to hijack the demand for reparations and take it somewhere else, similar to what we see happening in these demonstrations, where they take this question of solidarity, hijack it, and try to take it somewhere else. But we don't have that problem anymore, because the African People's Socialist Party solved that problem. It has opened up the door for white people to be able to participate in the struggle in a principled manner, under the leadership of the African working class. And so yeah, I wanted to say that, and I wanted to say that the solidarity of the struggle for African people to be free and self-determining has to be unconditional. It has to be totally unconditional. That the Black community, African people, set the terms for what this looks like, and they. And when I say they, I mean, the ruling class always attempts to say why African people deserve to die. And they have to create some justification as to why Africans deserve to die, why our resources are being stolen from us, why we have to be kicked out of our communities, why we have to be thrown in jail, why we have to live the way we do. And there's always a justification that the white ruling class can make for why African people have to live in these conditions. And the same thing with George Floyd. I mean, they gave this, albeit BS, reason about why George Floyd was even being attacked by the police to begin with, and that sometimes determines people's ability to support whether or not that brother should be struggled for or not. And the fact of the matter is, it has to be totally unconditional, no matter anything they say about that brother, no matter what they said Mike Brown did or didn't do, whatever they say African people did or didn't do, that is totally moving us away from what it is, and that is not something that we have to struggle for. We know that African people for 600 years have been living under the system, under these conditions, as a consequence of what Europe did to Africa. And that is the basis for every single contradiction that we see in this world today. That's it. That's all you need to know. You need to know that Africans are colonized, and that's why things happen to African people, and that's why the struggle has to be against colonialism. So I wanted to say that, and I really appreciate the whole process and the whole strategy of the African People's Socialist Party for this incredible movement of Black power in white face. And that's what it is, because white power has white power in blackface, and they use Black people, and sometimes it's even, they have them in these demonstrations happening right now, where they use Black people to turn the struggle away from what it really is, what it's really about. And so the party has taken this question of Black power and whiteface, and has its own colonizer nation turning against itself to overthrow colonialism and siding with the struggles of the oppressed and colonized all around the world. So it's a brilliant strategy. And if you came here looking for something to do, you have come to the right place. There's so much for you to do. There's so much work to be done. And, you know, there's a place for everyone under the leadership of the African working class, under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party and the African Revolution. So thank you. Salute again to the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, the African People's Solidarity Committee, and my chairman, my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you so much, Director Akilé Anai and Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Both of you, once again, just really, really honored to have both of you on this program, and salute your leadership and just express my total unity with every single thing that you said. And there's hundreds of people participating in this meeting right now, and we can't hear you all, but I assume everyone has been applauding, you know, at these presentations. I know I have. So I really, really salute and unite with everything that's been said so far. And I think it's so important. You know, I want to say, as I present the next speaker, first I want to mention, I've been mentioning reading material. Akilé Anai is the director of the Agitation and Propaganda department that prints the Burning Spear newspaper, the newspaper of the African People's Socialist Party that goes back to the late 60s. And you got to become a subscriber to this newspaper, burningspearmarketplace.com. There's also an online version, theburningspear.com. This is revolutionary news and views from the point of view of the African working class. And as white people, this is the newspaper we need to read, not the New York Times and all this, you know, white ruling class perspective. This is the African working class perspective. And I want to say, as I introduce the next presenter, that right now we're seeing white people at some of these demonstrations who are taking a stand that I think, generally speaking, we would say right on, where white people are linking arms and standing as a barricade between African protesters and the police, and doing what, in many ways, the African People's Socialist Party has called on white people to do historically through the creation of the African People's Solidarity Committee and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, which is to turn our backs on our own state power, our own government, our own ruling class, and become a buffer between the colonized African population and the state. And Chairwoman Penny Hess, our next speaker, has been doing that since 1976, not as an individual, but as part of an organization, as the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, an organization that the chairman and the African People's Socialist Party built precisely to take that stance of solidarity with African people and make it not just something that happens during a demonstration, but something that happens as a revolutionary way of life, as part of organization and strategy under the leadership of the African Revolution. And I also want to mention that Penny Hess wrote this book, Overturning the Culture of Violence, which everybody needs to get, also available at burningspearmarketplace.com. That should be required reading for every single white person on the planet Earth. It exposes the truth of our history as a colonizer and oppressor on the planet Earth and the way forward. It was written under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party. So it's my great honor to introduce the next speaker, the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, Penny Hess.
I can't unmute.
We can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now. Okay. Uhuru, everybody. I'm so excited about this meeting today. And I want to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is our leadership in the African People's Solidarity Committee, who is the leadership of the African Revolution, of the worldwide revolution, the African nation, the leader of the African People's Socialist Party. I want to salute Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela and the leadership, the National Central Committee of the African People's Socialist Party, real people, real African people who are out there on the front lines struggling every day for political and economic power in the hands of the African working class. I want to salute Director Akilé for that brilliant presentation and for the leadership that she provides inside of the African People's Socialist Party in the Agitation department. I want to salute Chair Jesse, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and all of you who came on. And I want to salute the heroic resistance of the African working class that we are seeing right now, which is responsible for bringing us to this meeting and to for the leadership in disrupting and taking on the colonial domination provided by the US government every single day. And I want to say that I am the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, the organization of white people that was founded by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the African People's Socialist Party, for white people, with the goal not for charity, not for a favor, not even for solidarity in that way, but to extend the African revolution into the belly of the beast so that we can be Black power in white face. We can take on the same understandings of the African revolution, the political theory of the African People's Socialist Party that is called African internationalism, and that it lets us begin to see the world through the eyes of the African working class and oppressed, and not through the eyes of white power sitting on the pedestal of the oppression of African people. And this situation that we see right now is so critical. It's, as the chairman says, and others have said, that it is bigger than Minneapolis, as we know. It's been 170 cities throughout the United States. It has rocked this system to its very foundations. And a lot of people have said, especially from the white community, have said that the conditions faced by African people are one of the, quote, isms, one of a list of isms in this country, and nothing could be further than the truth. That the struggle of African people for power, the oppression and colonization of African people, this question goes to the very heart of all struggle and all contradictions in this country and in this world. It is the essential question. It is the essential question, and we must understand that and take that on. That this is about the reality that Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the African Revolution, has defined for us, that America, that capitalism was built on the assault on Africa by Europe, by Europeans. It was built on imperialism that went into Africa when white people were poor on the continent of Europe, that went in when there was still feudalism in Europe, went to Africa, assaulted Africa, kidnapped African people, turned them into property, turned them into commodities for sale that became the first and most lucrative commodities of capitalism itself. It is the African human beings are what created Wall Street, the City of London, all of the stock markets, and the essence of capitalism is there, along with the genocide of the indigenous people, the theft of this land, and the colonial domination of the majority of the planet Earth. And when we look at the reality, as the Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Director Akilé, the African People's Socialist Party have laid out for us, that white people everywhere inside the United States and around the world, as the Chairman said, we are the colonizer nation. We are the colonizers. It is not because of some mysterious white privilege or racism. It has a political and economic basis to it, and that there is colonialism inside the borders of the United States. To say anything else is completely living in a world of rose-colored glasses. The fact is there's two Americas, and we all know it. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here. That's why we know we have to take this stand. And that colonialism, that we must understand the definition of, means that an entire people is dominated politically, economically, militarily by a foreign and alien state power and the colonizer nation for profit. That is the situation that exists here. As the Chairman said, we are settler colonizers. We came to this land. We had the power of life and death over the indigenous people. We had the power of life and death over African people. We stole their labor and the value of that, which was the greatest wealth ever produced at that time. And it has increased ever since, the stolen labor of African people. We have benefited and participated in the genocide of the indigenous people and the theft of their land. And we have, as a colonizer nation, supported the colonial domination and assault by the US government of peoples around the world. And that the colonialism that we're talking about is, as the chairman has defined, it is a colonial state. And as the chairman teaches us, the state is the institution of violence and coercion that maintains the status quo, which is the power of the ruling class and of the entire colonizer nation. It maintains that. And so, you know, we have people that might say, well, why do the police keep killing African people in this country? And the fact is they do it because that's what they're supposed to do. It is an occupying army. The police are an occupying army inside the African community. They are there to carry out the colonial policies of the US government. And that you could ask, well, why would a military, US soldier going to Iraq or any place else in the world be killing people all the time? Because that's what they do. And that's what the colonial state does and what it is about. It is about the domination and suppression and repression of the African population and the indigenous people and the Mexican indigenous people inside the borders of the United States. And that's why we have to reiterate and say ourselves what Chairman Omali Yeshitela just laid out, that it is not a question of racism, that this is a question of colonialism, and it's two different things. Racism and colonialism are not interchanging ideas. They are contending ideas. And that what the African People's Socialist Party, which represents the interests of the African working class, is about, as the chairman laid out very clearly, is about gaining political and economic power over their own lives. And ultimately, that question is African people united as one people around the world to liberate Africa and all its resources. And inside this country, the anti-colonial struggle, which stands in total unity, led by the African People's Socialist Party, stands in total unity with the struggle of the indigenous people for the return of their land, and with all oppressed and colonized peoples around the world, that this is a struggle for power, for political and economic power. This is what the party is about. And as the chairman said, racism is about white people. It's about putting ourselves in the center, and that the question of anti-racism is somehow about cleansing the ideas in our heads. Well, the ideas in the head of Derek Chauvin is not what killed him. It is the colonial state and the colonial state power that is responsible for the death of George Floyd and every other of the thousands upon thousands of African people who are killed and have been killed by the state every single day over many, many years. And that racism is about ourselves. It is counter to the struggle against colonialism that we're not talking about the question of, as the chairman said, they don't care. They don't care if we like them, but what they are calling for is a particular task that we have to take on, the struggle for reparations to African people, and to stand in genuine solidarity with this leadership, the terms set by the African working class and the leadership of the African working class, and building the institutions that the African People's Socialist Party has built over the years, over 50 institutions of self-government, self-determination, and political and economic power. That's what the Black Power Blueprint is. You can go to blackpowerblueprint.org. You can see the whole history of the development of that project on the north side of St. Louis. It's incredible. If you feel that you need to take an anti-racism class and pay $1,000, forget that. Put that $1,000 as reparations to the Black Power blueprint and to the work of the African People's Socialist Party. And that, you know, we also want to say that we have to be organized. White people have to be organized under the leadership of the African working class. We sit on the pedestal of the oppression of African people. That's why we are always, generally speaking, throughout history, have been united with our own ruling class against African people and indigenous people. Even if we were working people, we have always united with our own ruling class. And that this is about the ability of us to stand and be on the forward side of history, be able to take a stand in unity with African people and the oppressed people on the planet Earth. We have to be organized. We cannot lead a struggle. The only thing that we are able to do is carry out opportunism, because everything that we see and fight for, our vision, our material reality, is at the expense of everyone else. But under the leadership of the African Revolution, which is fighting for the end of all oppression, the end of war, the ability of all human beings to live together, no one at the expense of anyone else, all the contradictions of this world and this society will be overturned under a socialist system led by African people, the African working class, and indigenous people and around the world. And we have to be organized because it was the resistance, the fierce resistance of the African working class that we're seeing everywhere that brought us here today. Because what happened to George Floyd happens every single day. And as the chairman has said, that this is the first time maybe for some of us to begin to see beyond all the norm of the conditions that African people face that we take for granted every day, that we never even look at. The fact that the US has the largest prison population in the entire world, 2.3 million people, 1 million people more than China has in prison, because this is a colonial prison system as a way of oppressing African people and making sure that they would never rise up again. The entire African population has been criminalized through the government assault on that movement called counterinsurgency, and that we cannot accept the everyday reality of prison, of poverty, of the fact, as the chairman said, that white people have an average of $250,000 in assets in some places like Boston, whereas African people have $8. The healthcare, the fact that infant mortality, maternal mortality, all down the line, every aspect of life is hell. It's under colonial domination in this country and every place that African people are. Our responsibility is reparations. It is not charity. It is not a favor. This is returning the stolen resources. This is acknowledging that everything that we have, our social wealth, our ability to have the resources from a family handed down from generation to generation, to be able to have access to resources in an emergency or any time, that this is a result of, this is a consequence of the stolen labor of African people. We owe reparations, and reparations is an incredible stand. It's an incredible stand because it gets us out of our situation. It turns loose, as the chairman says, our whiteness. It allows us to join the human family, to be able to begin to have a principled relationship to everybody else on the planet, beginning with our self-criticism to African people and the return and turning back on, turning back over the parasitic capitalism, the parasitic sucking the blood of this system of African people and people on the planet Earth. So it puts us on the forward side of history. It gives us a future on this planet. It is what will solve the problems. And this is a powerful thing. This is a liberating stance for us also as white people to begin to know that we can end our self-imposed isolation with the rest of the earth and take a role that we have been assigned by the African Revolution inside the belly of the beast, and that this is the process that enables us to join in a principled way under the leadership of the African working class and people on the planet Earth, to be part of the planet, to be part of solving the problems, to go into the white community, to win others just like ourselves, that this is the future that we want. This is the life that we want. This is the world that we want. This system must go. It can never be reformed. It must be wiped off the planet Earth if the Earth itself is going to survive. So we, again, salute you for being here. We say unity through reparations. I also want to unite, by the way, with the demands that the chairman laid out, that US troops out of Africa and out of the African communities inside the US, reparations for African people, and the immediate release of African political prisoners inside this country. So I want to say that we say unity through reparations and Uhuru, Uhuru.
Uhuru, Uhuru, thank you so much. Penny Hess, Chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, who has been working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela for 44 years and continues to set the standard for what it means for us as white people to really turn our backs on this foul, genocidal colonial social system once and for all, and cast our fate with that of the oppressed peoples of the world, which will be a fate of victory and self-determination. So I want to just appreciate all of the presenters who have spoken, and I want to appreciate all of the people who have joined the Uhuru Solidarity Movement already. Many, many people have joined the Uhuru Solidarity Movement in this meeting. We're going to announce everybody by first name, just give everyone a shout out at the end of the meeting. But I want to thank everybody who has already gone to uhurusolidarity.org/join and become a member of this organization, because that's what this is about. This is about, as Chairwoman Penny Hess and all of the presenters, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Director Akilé just said, it's about getting organized. We have to be organized, organized, organized. And that means join, join, join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. So on that note, and I want to show you, I am a member. I'm a proud card-carrying member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. I take this around with me everywhere I go. And you can do the same when you become a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and join all of the many people who have already done so tonight. Before I even have the opportunity to pass the mic to the Uhuru Solidarity Movement's national membership chair, Ali Ayello, who is going to talk to you about what it means to join.
Uhuru, can anyone hear me? We're on standby. Just hold on a minute.
Am I on?
Yes.
All right, sorry. There's a huge storm going on here, and the internet went out in this house, and I'm hosting this meeting, so that's bad news. But now we're using an iPhone hotspot, so I apologize for that. I hope that everybody. Okay, looks like everyone is still here. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around and getting through that with us. So we're back. We're back in action thanks to a hotspot on an iPhone. The internet's down. It's storming quite a bit out there. So I want to go ahead and turn it over to Ali Ayello, our membership chair, to talk about joining the Uhuru Solidarity Movement.
Uhuru, everybody. I am really thrilled to be able to be here. My name is Ali Ayello, and I am the membership chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And I just really want to express my deep appreciation and salute the presentations that have been given by the leadership of our movement, by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who has just brilliantly laid out what this struggle is all about. The presentation from the Director of Agitation and Propaganda, Akilé Anai, and the Chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, Penny Hess, who have laid out really all the reasons why, the political foundation for why you should join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. But I, want to keep that moving forward and keep that going on and talk to you exactly about what it means to be a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And comrades, now is the time to get organized. We want every single one of you in this meeting tonight to become a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and join. That's what we want to see. We want to see you join and be a part of an organization. And as laid out by our speakers, this fight that we see happening in Minneapolis and the uprisings that we've seen over the last 600 years is a struggle for African people to have power over their own lives. This is a struggle against colonialism. A struggle for power and self-determination is the only thing that can end the colonial oppression and exploitation that not just existed on May 25th of this year, but exists every single day in the Black community. And if we actually want to be a part of that fight, then we need to stand in solidarity through reparations to the Black community. And as white people, we are not George Floyd. We are not George Floyd. And to the extent that we refuse to do anything about these two different realities, we are Derek Chauvin. We are finally seeing white people taking a stand and speaking out at protests. But what we need to do is we need to go beyond that. And that's been talked about, because we know that the murder of African people by the police is going to continue going on after these demonstrations end. And they're going to continue going on until this colonialist system is overturned. And that is why we have to join an organization, but not just any organization, not just, joining white leftist organizations that do what they want, when they want, and only donate when Black people set buildings on fire because they are sick and tired of this system. But we need to join under the revolutionary organization, under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, because that takes us beyond this struggle against racism. We have to join under the leadership. Joining under the leadership of the party makes it a struggle for Black power. And if you don't become a member and we settle for just trying to unlearn our racism and be nice white people, it's not going to change one damn thing that happens in this country. You can read 5 books tomorrow about unlearning your racism. And when you finish reading those books, the Black community still doesn't have power. You'll wake up, the Black community still doesn't have power. How the water in Flint, Michigan still isn't clean, no matter how many nice white people live there. So it's clear that we have to do more than be cafe revolutionaries, but we have to join the movement for reparations. And we can make that change. We can make that change today. by paying reparations through our time and our money. And this right here, being a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement is something different. It's something different. This is a profound historic relationship in which the African People's Socialist Party is calling on us to be the voice of Black power inside the belly of the beast, inside the colonizer white community where all of the resources are hoarded. And when you become a member, the reparations that you pay go directly towards the self-determination projects of the African People's Socialist Party that is giving Black people the ability to feed, clothe, and house themselves, the ability to fight for power and fight for Black community control of the police. And I'm really excited to show you an example of what these projects look like, because this is what the future looks like. This is what self-determination in the hands of the African working class looks like. And after the Ferguson Rebellion in 2014, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party went into Ferguson. And they didn't just protest, but they went beyond that and they built what is known today as the Black Power Blueprint, which is redefining what the African working class community looks like today. And I'm really excited to be able to show you a video of one of our extraordinary institutions and what the reparations that you pay by becoming a member today goes towards. So Uhuru, and I just want to turn it over to this video.
Be a part of the progress that's going on here at 4101 West Florissant. This is your Uhuru House. This is your place. If it's a Black community, it's your community. So come on out and take part in the work that's going on down here. Because of you, be a part in the work that's going on down here. Because of you, we are really doing this.
You have funded the ability of hundreds of African workers and volunteers to transform a once abandoned building into this beautiful community center.
We can see the beginning of an entire community coming together for self-determination and power over our own lives.
The Black Power Blueprint is the only thing that addresses the serious disparities in our community by bringing political and economic power into the hands of the African working class.
North of the infamous Delmar Divide is the other St. Louis, where 70% of those living in poverty are African, and hunger is a daily reality.
Hundreds of you from the white community have united with this opportunity to contribute as a powerful stance of reparation to the Black community. Thanks to you, we were able to demolish the condemned buildings across the street from the Uhuru House to make way for the One Africa, One Nation marketplace and the community garden. Thanks to you, we have installed a 50-foot flagpole that will fly the 25 feet red, black, and green flag as an inspiring symbol of a future of justice, prosperity, and liberation for African people here and around the world. We need your contributions to install the outdoor lighting and to pave and fence the lots, to complete the beautiful outdoor vineyard space and the community garden.
A 50-foot flagpole was erected on this land, flying a 25-foot red, black, and green African flag. Renovations on the 3rd floor of the Uhuru House are wrapping up for additional office and program space, with insulation, drywall, and mudding and taping.
With help from our amazing volunteers, we are renovating a 4-plex apartment complex earmarked for housing for our African Independence Workforce Program, creating jobs for those re-entering our community from the prison system.
We will upgrade all bathrooms and kitchens, install stoves, refrigerators, cabinets, and fixtures, and the apartments will be furnished.
One of our biggest focuses now is raising resources for a community basketball court on the corner of West Florissant and College Avenue, where we've just demolished condemned buildings. This project is in response to the demands of our community for recreational facilities of our own.
Other projects for Phase 3 include architectural plans, new roofing, and new windows for the beautiful Jico Kitchen, located in an Art Deco building on Goodfellow Boulevard that had once been a boat dealership. As our most ambitious project so far, Jico will include a cafe, bakery, community kitchen, and the headquarters of Uhuru Foods and Pies, one of the 26 economic institutions of the Black Star Industries and African People's Education and Defense Fund around the U.S.
This is not just to set up some kind of institution. This is a project in the hands of the African working class. And the class has to have power for us to be free.
This life-changing project is coordinated by Deputy Chair Akilé Yeshitela.
It is really inspiring to see how much the people love this project and looking forward to the marketplace and all the other projects. This is a positive response to gentrification because it's about more than just keeping our community. It's about building economic self-reliance for our community. The Black Power Blueprint is economic power in the hands of the African working class. Donate to this unique project, which is changing the world day by day.
Uhuru, and that is the brilliance and the genius of the African working class. That's it right there, and that's what you get to be a part of when you join this movement. When you stand on the right side of history, that's the future that you get to be a part of. So I really want to call on everyone to join, and just so you know, the progress is moving at light speed and or at the speed of light, and these are new pictures that have just been taken about what's going on. You know, you saw that a building, you can see the community center across the street. You saw a building was being torn down in that video. They were opening up a space for a One Africa, One Nation marketplace. And this is it right here. It's moving along. It doesn't stop. The revolution doesn't stop. And so, Jesse, you want to go to the next slide? And, you know, that's more photos of, you know, the beautiful red, black, and green African flag. and the community garden that's being built right in this One Africa, One Nation marketplace. And next slide. So now I want to call on you to go to our website right now. All of you must have some sort of internet with you because you're on this Zoom call. So open your webpage, go to your web browser and type in uhurusolidarity.org/join and become a sustaining member. You know, we have memberships as low as $5 a month to however many dollars a month you want to pay. One of our most popular levels is the Malcolm X sustaining level. Is $30 a month, $1 a day. And that's how you can stand for reparations to the Black community. And we also have all sorts of membership levels, annual membership levels that you will see on our website right now as I'm talking to you, as you're going to uhurusolidarity.org/join. And just really want to call you. You want to be a part of changing the future. You want to be a part of creating a new world. You know, this is the organization to join. This is how we go beyond protests. This is how we take a stand. So go ahead and join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And if you don't have a card to pay with online, you can, if you want to go to the next slide, you can also send a check or cash to our P.O. box that's listed right here. Our address is listed right here. The P.O. box is 3630 St. Petersburg, Florida. 33731 is the zip code. So if you don't have a car, you can send check or cash to that address. And sign up to join the Reparations organization. Sign up to join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru. Thank you so much, Ali. And everyone can see me, right? Or you can hear me? Okay, good. All right. Sorry, again, we're having some internet issues here, but thank you, Ali. And again, thank you and welcome to everybody who is joining. We are getting a lot of members. We're going to be announcing that at the end of the meeting. So I just want to salute and welcome and applaud every single person that is taking this momentous step to be part of the organized process of changing the world under the leadership of the African working class, under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party. So I welcome you, I embrace you. I'm so happy that people are joining the Uhuru Solidarity Movement today. And we want to just encourage, our goal is everyone, every single person in this meeting. We want you to walk away from this meeting a member of this organization. So next, I'm going to turn it over to Hallie Murray, who is the Northern Regional Chair for the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, as well as many other things, including the coordinator for our Political Action Committee. So I'm very excited to turn it over to Hallie, who's going to talk about what we can do right now to take a stand in the world for reparations to African people, justice for George Floyd, and for all of the victims of colonial violence, and for the struggle of African people against colonialism and for power. So I'm going to turn it over now to Hallie Murray.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, wow, so, okay, I just really want to salute this entire program, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. That was just such a powerful presentation. I fully unite with that and with Director Akilé's analysis, and Chairwoman Penny and Jesse Neville and Ali and all the members who've stuck around for this meeting. We did a lot of work to put this together in like 3 days, and it's just phenomenal. We had over 400 registrations for this, so I'm really excited to show you this presentation. So as Jesse said, my name is Hallie Murray. I'm chair of the North Region and also the political action of USM. I live in Somerville, Massachusetts, and some of you might be here because you saw a poster I put up from doing political action in my own neighborhood. And that's exactly the kind of stuff we want you to be doing wherever you are in the world. Yeah, next slide. We're here to plan we want to leave this meeting with everyone participating in this global day of action for reparations to African people. It's going to be this Saturday, June 6th, all day, everywhere on this planet Earth and occupied Turtle Island. And then before we talk about those specifics, I want to show you some inspiring stuff we've been doing the last month around the country, what the Uhuru movement has been doing. So next slide. Last month, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, next slide, we launched our campaign. This is the campaign of USM called Make Wall Street Pay Reparations, where we're really targeting the giant parasitic CEOs of capitalism. The banks everyone loves to hate, you know, we are targeting them. We are going after the jugular, as Chairman has said, because as we've heard in this meeting, so brilliantly summed up by the Chairman, that capitalism was built on a foundation of slavery and genocide. Underneath Wall Street is an enslaved African burial ground. So we are going for the reparations and demanding that they pay to the Black Power blueprint. So yeah, we in New York City and Boston, just like less than 2 weeks ago, this was our first action, you know, to come out of the closet, to be out in the world. We were targeting JP Morgan Chase, that they owe reparations to African people. So this was here in Boston in the North End. And, you know, just for some facts about this bank, it's the largest bank in the country. It's funded the prison industry for years, and they're one of the largest donors to the New York Police Department, which, as we know, is responsible for stop and frisk and murdering African people daily. And, you know, I know that people are here because you're sick of that. You're a white person, you're sick of this genocide on African people. So you got to join this campaign. Yeah, these are some photos from New York. You see it, that's the national headquarters of JP Morgan Chase. And our car is just honking along, making a scene, causing a stink up on the billionaire street, the street where all the billionaires live. And I really salute our comrades in New York City. There are a lot of folks who registered from Brooklyn, from New York. So we got to get you organized. And I'm going to be your point person for the North region, because the North region is also home of Wall Street. So we really have to take this on. And we drove by the CEO's house, Jamie Dimon. He lives in the area. So we paid him a visit. Honking, of course, outside. So yeah, next slide. So around the recent struggle for reparations for George Floyd, just last Thursday, the African People's Socialist Party led actions all over the country. Any city where there is party leadership present and they were able to go out in the world, actions were happening. Here we see Director Akilé in this large photo leading this incredible chant in front of the St. Pete Police Department. We have President Kalambayi in St. Louis, and wherever possible, the solidarity forces were out there being in full 100% unity. That is our job. We are in total solidarity with what the African People's Socialist Party is leading. And yeah, next slide. So for cities that didn't have an active party presence, or they weren't able to because they're sick with the colonial virus, like here in Boston, this is us in Somerville in front of the Somerville Police Station, just down the street from here, reading out a magnificent statement written by the African People's Solidarity Committee, which I'm a proud member of, and you should consider joining in your life. We had and this was organized in like 2 hours, and we still had people come out, people like shared it on Twitter and they showed up, and it was just so mobilizing. We read the statement, and even us just standing there with the sign on Washington Street, people just honking and cheering. People came over from across the street. It was very mobilizing, and we're going to be doing things like this a lot. So if you missed this one, didn't get the memo in time, don't worry, because we got a lot more planned. Next slide. So yeah, just on the note of like, what does it mean to be a propagandist? This was a picture of me at the Boston protest a few days ago, and this photo was in the Boston Globe, like the cover photo of the article. And and thousands of people saw it. And not that it's about me specifically, but it's just, I'm wearing the USM shirt. I have I'm clearly an organizer with the message and the website. So it's so critical that we take all the political space for the African Revolution, and really become a propagandist. Don't ever leave your house without your literature, without your shirt, that people know that person is in USM. I know they know something about reparations. I got to talk to them. Next slide. Yeah, so just shout out to Uhuru Planet Reparations Apparel, which I'm Really excited to be the chair of. I work with Penny Hess to build this institution. Get your merch, get your reparations propaganda, guaranteed to turn heads, whether for cheers or heckling. You will be noticed with your reparations apparel. It's really cutting edge of fashion. So go to uhuruplanet.com to check out. We have so many designs. Here's Mads, our awesome comrade in Portland. Yeah, so, and you know, if you're in Boston here, the inventory, it's in my house. I need you to help print shirts. There's a lot of orders coming in. So this is the regional institution here in Boston that I'd love for any local people to be part of. So next slide. Okay, so everyone is here because you want to do something to stop the violence of the African community, to stop this genocide. You're here because you want to be part of an organization. You don't just want to be a random, sad, lonely white person floating in the world by yourself. You got to join our organization. We will take care of you under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And so we're doing this Day of Action this Saturday, the first time in the history of the world that the scenes of white people are leaving our house demanding reparations to the African community, saying no more genocide in my name. We will not take this anymore. We are under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And wherever you are in the world, even if you can't leave your house, you know, or we're in a global pandemic. So whatever your situation, wherever you are in the world, you can participate in this action. We are committed to bring you into the process. So I believe my time is up right now, but just to say, we are, next slide, I think it's the last slide. We're having a follow-up meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern to really go specifically into the details of what the action is going to look like. We can do postering in your city. If there's a party presence, we'll have rallies. If not, we can help you paint a banner and just do something. And I understand there's people from a lot of different time zones on here. So even if you can't make the meeting tomorrow at that time, you should still register right now at tinyurl.com/reparationsday. And we will be in touch with you to find a time that's good to meet with you. So thank you so much. It's really an honor to be part of this organization. And if you haven't yet already, please join and become a member. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you, Hallie. Thank you very much, Hallie. And I just want to join in encouraging people who are watching to go to tinyurl.com/reparationsday and sign up to participate in the Global Day of Action for Reparations to African People. This is so important that we're out there in the world taking a stand at this time to show other white people the way that we can participate under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party in taking a genuine stance in solidarity with African people against the colonial oppression they face everywhere, for their right to reclaim control of their power and power over their resources and lives, and for an end to the colonial violence that benefits us as white people sitting on this pedestal of colonialism and oppression. So go to tinyurl.com/reparationsday, sign up for the Global Day of Action for Reparations. We're going to have a meeting tomorrow night. If you can't make that meeting, we'll be in touch with you. We'll set up a meeting with you. And, you know, we want people to go out there. We want to make banners. We want to make signs and be out there and do outreach and win other white people like us to come into this movement, to take this stand, to join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, to do like so many of you have done and are continuing to do tonight by becoming a member of this organization. So for anyone who has not done that yet, there's still time. We're going to be announcing it at the end of the event. So please go to uhurusolidarity.org/join and become a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. So many people have already done that and have left really inspiring and powerful comments as well with their membership in this organization. So we're starting to wind down this meeting, but we still do have a few more very important things that we want to go over quickly, and then we will turn it over to our speakers for any closing remarks after we announce all of our new incredible members of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. So now I would like to bring on, let me make sure okay. So I got to do one little tech thing here real quick. So we're about to bring on Leah Fifield, who is a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the coordinator of a campaign that we have called the Reparations Challenge, who's actually joining us from Minneapolis, right there from the front lines of this incredible resistance. And Leah and other members of the Solidarity Movement have been out there organizing, standing in solidarity with the African resistance. So Leah is going to talk to us about how we can plug into this work and volunteer ongoing beyond the day of action that's going to be happening on Saturday. So I'm really excited to turn it over to, straight from Minneapolis, Leah Fifield.
Uhuru, can you hear me? All right. Uhuru, hello, my name is Leah, and I am the Reparations Challenge Coordinator for the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. So first, I want to express my deep appreciation for all of these amazing presentations that we've seen tonight. And I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Director Akilé Anai, along with Chairwoman Penny Hess and Chair Jesse Neville. Thank you to all of you. So I'm coming to you from Minneapolis, where the African working class is leading an heroic uprising against the colonial police force who murdered George Floyd. There are a lot of white people right now who are compelled to act. And so we all start searching for an organization that we can take part in, which is going to make a meaningful impact. So if you are here because you are mobilized by horrendous acts of violence perpetrated against the African or Black community every day, including the murder of George Floyd, you are in the right place. And I'm going to tell you exactly how you can participate in the revolutionary process to end the destructive systems of imperialism, colonialism, and parasitic capitalism underneath the leadership of the African working class. So, as has previously been stated, USM is a reparations organization. Reparations, reparations, reparations. So reparations is how we repair the damage done. Members of USM are tasked with returning the stolen resources of African peoples through reparations. And the reparations that we raise go to support the Black Power Blueprint in St. Louis, Missouri, which is that visionary economic program forwarding the struggle of African people for political and economic power over their own resources. And we saw that video about the Black Power Blueprint previously. So Hallie talked about the Global Day of Action that's going to be on this Saturday, June 6th. And I hope that each of you can take part in that because it's going to be huge. And then once that is done, we want you to stay involved by taking part in ongoing actions that USM has coordinated. So I'm here to talk to you about two of these actions, and they are the Birthday for Reparations fundraiser and the Reparations Challenge. So with the Birthday for Reparations fundraiser, you can turn your birthday into an act of reparations for African people. Everybody's got a birthday, so everybody can do this. All you have to do is ask your friends and family to donate to the Black Power Blueprint for your birthday, and this is a super easy process. This fundraiser can easily be done on Facebook, and all you have to do to set up your Birthday for Reparations fundraiser is go to uhurusolidarity.org/volunteer, and you'll be guided through the entire process. It only takes a couple of minutes and is a concrete way of building material solidarity with the African community. The Reparations Challenge is a creative and accessible way to raise reparations any time of year. Everyone who is watching tonight has the unique opportunity to create your own event or personal fundraiser to raise reparations that work towards repairing the damage done by white power. You can take any skill set or idea that you have and turn it into concrete material solidarity with the liberation of African peoples. So we've had a lot of reparations challenges done in the past, and there's some great examples of what you can do. So in the past, people have held bake sales or yard sales and taken all of those resources, all of that money, and given that to the Reparations Challenge. You could do gig work for a certain amount of hours. If you're driving for Uber or Lyft, you can say, I'm going to take these 5 hours of this week, and that money is going to go to the Reparations Challenge. We've had members that have run marathons for reparations. You could teach an online class. You know, a lot of us have to be sort of living our lives online right now. You can still take the Reparations Challenge while you are physically distancing from people. So you could teach something like a cooking class. If you're a singer, you could teach singing lessons, or if you play a musical instrument, you could teach somebody how to do that online. You could create art and sell that for reparations. You could stop going to Starbucks and save that money and instead pay that for your reparations challenge. There are so many different ways to do this. Maybe you're a social worker or a teacher or a bus driver or a cook. You can take a certain percentage of your paycheck and designate that for your reparations challenge. So this can be a one-time or an ongoing challenge. It can be as big or as small as you like. You could throw a huge dance party like they've done in New York, or you could save your coffee money, and that can go to the reparations challenge. So as the reparations challenge coordinator, I am here to support you every step of the way in getting your reparations challenge off the ground. Several of you here tonight have already said that you want to take the reparations challenge, so be expecting a call from me. I am so excited to talk to you about this. So to get involved with either the birthday fundraisers or the reparations challenge, go to uhurusolidarity.org/volunteer. And you should also join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Uhuru.
Wow, Uhuru, thank you so much, Leah. Really appreciate that, and really encourage everybody to do what Leah said, to volunteer, to take the reparations challenge, and go to uhurusolidarity.org/volunteer and get involved in this incredible movement, and bring all your skills, your creativity, your talents, your interests, and turn them over to the revolution, the revolutionary struggle of African people. So this is about building a culture of reparations to African people. There is nothing like this anywhere in the world. This is the place to be. So now we're going to hear for 30 seconds each from our regional coordinators, because we have a regional structure based on the strategy put forward by the African People's Socialist Party. We have people who are responsible for organizing and building and being in touch with you, depending on where you live in this country. And if you don't live in this country, we'll have people assigned to be in touch with you as well. But if you're in the US, you fall within one of 4 regions that the map is divided up into, and we have someone assigned to lead and build the Uhuru Solidarity Movement in each of those regions. So we're going to hear from our regional coordinators. Hallie Murray will come back on for the North, Mads Ambrose for the West, Casey Mackey for the Midwest, and Ali Ayala will come back on for the South. We're going to hear from each person for 30 seconds each, just real quick so they can introduce themselves to you. Then we're going to come back. I'm going to make the exciting announcement, shouting out all of the incredible, awesome new members of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And then I'm going to turn it over to our speakers for any closing remarks. If you have questions, normally we love questions. We take questions. We're all about questions and discussion. We don't have the ability to do that tonight. We don't have time for that tonight. But please email any questions or comments that you have about this meeting to info@uhurusolidarity.org, and we will answer your questions. We also plan to have more meetings, orientations in each region, studies, and other discussions where you will have the opportunity to ask any questions, to make any comments, to discuss with us. We are available to you as organizers to help you come into this organization and answer any questions that you have. So we can't do that in this meeting, but the door is very much open for that to happen ongoing. So again, any questions, send them to info@uhurusolidarity.org, or hey, reach out to your regional coordinator. Who is your regional coordinator? Well, you're about to find out. So let's start with the North, Hallie Murray.
Oops, can you hear me? I'm good. All right, hi, I'm back. Uhuru. So I already said that. I'm in the North region. I live in Somerville, and the North region is everywhere north of Virginia, upwards or north of that on this occupied Turtle Island. We have active branches here in Boston for the last 4 years now, in New York City, and in Philadelphia. And Philly is the regional hub. If you're there, you got to check out Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles. That is the regional institution, as well as Uhuru Planet here in Boston, which we really need to build and have a storefront and a whole production studio. But we really want to build in DC and all over in this region. So I'm super friendly. Talk to me. I will definitely be in touch with you if you're on this meeting, and we can have a regional meeting. We meet every week, actually. We meet every Sunday, 6 to 8 p.m. where we plan our different regional activities. So that's me, Uhuru.
Thank you, Hallie. Thank you from the Northern region. And now let's go to Mads Ambrose in the West. You gotta unmute. There you go.
Uhuru, I'm the Western Regional Coordinator. I'm based in Portland, Oregon. So we've got a branch here in Portland. We also have a branch in Spokane, Washington, and Seattle, Washington. We've got active members in Oakland, which is also the base of the Western region, with the institutions of the party working there. We'd really like to build more of USM, of the Solidarity in Oakland. As well as active members in San Diego. And we'd really like to keep building in San Diego and in Southern California in general. I just wanted to say that the, West Coast and the Western region is usually seen as a really progressive part of the United States. But this is, the only progressive stance we can take is for reparations to African people. And the Western region also includes Colorado, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, Alaska, and Hawaii. So I look forward to working with all you comrades in the Western region, and you will be hearing from me. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you, Mads, from the West. And now let's go to Casey Mackey in the Midwest region.
Uhuru, can you hear me? Is it working? Okay, great. My screen looks frozen. But Uhuru, my name is Casey Mackey, and I joined this movement 4 years ago after the murders of Philando Castile and Alton Sterling, and it was the best decision I ever made, so I encourage you to do the same. And 2 years ago, I was called to move to St. Louis by the African People's Socialist Party to build the Solidarity Movement right here in St. Louis and lead Solidarity in the Midwest region. And it is such an honor to live right here in the headquarters of the Black Power Blueprint and see this incredible transformation with my own eyes. And as white people, funneling resources into the Black Power Blueprint is the complete opposite of our history, where we have destroyed the attempts of African people to build economic development for themselves, like in Rosewood and Tulsa and Black Wall Street. So I just want to really appreciate everybody for being on. I am the Midwest Regional Coordinator, so if you live in St. Louis, Minneapolis, anywhere in the Midwest, I want you to get involved in the work here. We have a lot of work to do, and just really appreciate you all for being on tonight, and that this future, this world, the Black Power Blueprint, our stance of solidarity is only possible with the leadership of the African working class. So I just want to say unity through reparations. Uhuru.
Reparations. All right, that's Casey Mackey in the Midwest. And now, last but not least, right here in the Southern region, Ali Ayello. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Yeah, I am I'm here to represent the Southern region. And so if you live in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, or Florida, which is where I'm located, then I'm your contact. And I'm really excited to organize with all of our members in the South region. We have an incredible history of the African People's Socialist Party. This is where Chairman Omali Yeshitela was born, and ripped the historic moment where he ripped the racist mural that's set in St. Pete City Hall. That's where this happened, in St. Pete, Florida, in the South region. We also are home to Black Power 96 radio station, and to the Uhuru House here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And we also have Zenzele Consignment in Huntsville, Alabama, which is the economic institution of the All African People's Development and Empowerment Project. And so that's what we get to fight for here in the Southern region. And I'm really excited to organize with all of our new members in the South. Uhuru.
Uhuru, right on. And if you are in Canada, in Spain, in the UK, let me see, I'm not sure if you're seeing me. Okay, good. If you're in South Africa, another colonial settler state, if you're in occupied Palestine, aka what they call Israel, the illegitimate colonial settler state of Israel, we are colonial settlers wherever we are in one way or another. We are part of the colonizer nation, and wherever we are, we have a responsibility to join this movement, to become Black power in white face, to take this struggle inside the belly of the beast and wage the anti-colonial struggle for reparations to African people. So we will have somebody in touch with you if you join at uhurusolidarity.org/join in any part of the planet Earth. We will bring you in and build this massive reparations movement with you under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. So we're coming to the end of our meeting. And what I'm gonna do now is do my absolute best not to butcher any of your names as I announce, and with great excitement and happiness, all of the new people who have joined the Uhuru Solidarity Movement tonight. And I apologize in advance because I am gonna get some of these names wrong, but once I get to know you, I promise I will get your name right. So we wanna thank Eva, Eliza, Brooke, Aaron, Ben, Anya, Helena, Jenna, Abijah, Tia, Alexis, Deanna, Marcianne, Kelsey, Carly, Autumn, Clark, Kimberly, Lucia, another Kimberly, Carmelo, Lauren, Elizabeth, and Corey. And that is halfway through. We want to thank Emily. We want to thank Izzy, Samantha, Montana, Isabel, Robert, Patrick, Grace, Olivia, Danielle, Jeffrey, Dina, Janine, Jessica, Lizzie, Lillian, Alejo, Felicity. All of these people have joined the forward side of history tonight, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. The names that I just read to you belong to people that US imperialism can no longer count on to be complicit, to be part of the status quo, that have broken off from our own ruling class and from this horrendous social system and taken a stand on the side of the African revolution, the winning team. This is the winning team. This is the hope. This is the future. This is the positive, optimistic vision of a better world shaped by the victorious struggles of African and colonized peoples around the world for self-determination. This is not the gloom and doom and, Trump and his wife hiding in a bunker because they know what's happening. They can stay in that bunker. They can do what they need to do in that bunker, but the people are going to win. The future is being born as we speak. And this meeting tonight is a historic milestone. So I welcome you. I salute you. I am so excited to welcome all of you into this incredible organization. It's such an honor to be a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, to be under the leadership of the Vanguard Party, to be under the leadership of the African working class, and to be under the leadership of the chairman of the worldwide revolution, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. So Uhuru, to all of you, you are our comrades. We love you. We appreciate you. And you will be hearing from your regional coordinator within the next 24 hours. So we'll be inviting you to orientations. We'll be bringing you in, and we'll be working together. We're gonna roll our sleeves up and get in the trenches with you by the end of the week at the absolute latest. So we're excited. This has been an incredible meeting tonight. I want to thank the amazing, amazing presentations that everybody gave, especially our leader, our chairman, Omali Yeshitela. It was such an incredible honor. I want to salute the Black Power Blueprint and Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela, whose incredible leadership and influence over the whole worldwide struggle of African people cannot be overstated. That video that you saw was just a tiny glimpse, impact and power of what Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela leads. And I want to thank Director Akilé Anai, who is an amazing leader in so many ways and whose presentations tonight were so clarifying and gave us the ideological ammo that we need to go out in the world and take the right stance as white people under the leadership of the African Revolution. And I want to thank Chairwoman Penny Hess, who gave that incredible presentation that just made it unmistakable, just made it undeniable that the days of just sitting around and playing mind games with ourselves in this thing called unlearning racism, that is a thing of the past. Anti-colonialism is the wave of the future, and it is the way forward. And this is the way to take ourselves out of the center for once. And what a joy it is for white people. We finally get to not be in the center. We've been putting ourselves in the center of this horrific reality for hundreds of years. We get to take ourselves out of the center and humble ourselves to this incredible revolutionary mission of the liberation of Africa and African people and the liberation of humanity, including us. This is our future. This is in our interest. So uhuru, everyone. And I want to turn it over to our three amazing speakers, just to see if there's any closing remarks you would like to make before we close out this incredible meeting tonight. Uhuru. Chairwoman Penny, did you want to kick it off?
Uhuru, you can hear me?
Yes.
I just really salute everyone who joined tonight under the leadership of the African Revolution. I loved seeing the culture of reparations built, the most positive culture for white people everywhere. I think we had people on from all over the world, including what the party calls Occupied Azania, where the party has organizers there. In the Gauteng province, the party is building in Africa, throughout the world. We can now be connected in a positive and principled way to all of the struggling humanity on this planet. It is liberating for us to be part of this. And I want to welcome you to this organization under the leadership of the African Revolution, and just say unity through reparations.
Reparations. Thank you, Chairwoman Penny Hess. And Director Akilé, any closing remarks you would like to say?
Uhuru. Yes, just want to salute and welcome our comrades into the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and just salute this incredible program, that this historic event that happened today. It's really history that was just made. And I just wanted to close out by just kind of plugging in some really important resources for people to go when they leave this meeting, can continue just deepening their understanding about what they heard today outside of the different meetings. You can go to the Burning Spear TV on YouTube, and there you'll see every episode of what we call Omali Taught Me Sunday Study, which is your ability to participate in political education with the chairman every single Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's also broadcast from Chairman Omali Yeshitela's Facebook page. So if you go to Facebook or on Burning Spear TV YouTube, you can catch every episode of Omali Taught Me Sunday Study. You can see the chairman, ask him questions live. And it's just really important for all of us who are, in the process coming into political life and developing African internationalists. That's this place to be every Sunday from 8 to 10 with the chairman. So I just wanted to say those things. And again, Uhuru, salute and welcome to the Uhuru movement under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you so much, Director Akilé, for that statement and for being on this program tonight and for your incredible leadership and presentation. And finally, I'd like to turn it over to our Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Thank you again so much for being on this program tonight, and just wanted to turn it over to you to see if you have any closing remarks for us. Oh, let me see. Uhuru, Chairman, looks like, okay, there we go. I think I have to unmute you. Sorry about that. Okay.
Uhuru, first of all, I want to express my appreciation to you, Comrade Jesse, and to the leadership of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, your splendid comrades who brought this all together. And it's really important also for people to see the human faces involved in a real organization, a real movement. It's not just some spontaneous activity that we're involved in, but incredible leaders, and identify these leaders in virtually every region inside the United States, and to indicate also that we work internationally, and cannot miss recognizing the significance of the work of Chairwoman Penny Hess, the leadership of the African People's Solidarity Committee. You've already heard people mention Comrade Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela, who is the leader of the economic work of our movement, and actually is leading this process that we engage in as a party to build an independent international economy, anti-colonial economy for African people. So this meeting is extremely important, happening at a crucial moment in history. It's a moment that the United States government had decided should never ever occur again, that African people would be in motion, independent of the constraints that's placed on us ideologically, politically, and even organizationally, of the US government and its minions, the forces that work under its leadership. You have been denied, those of you in this meeting, the history of the struggle of African people for real freedom. It did not begin as some kind of freedom against racism or fight against racism. We've always fought. Historically, there's never been a time in the history of the struggle of African people where we did not fight to be a self-governing, self-determining people with a deep and profound recognition of our relationship to Africa as African people. There's never been a time in the history. And the reason that that's not so obvious today is because the United States government did an extraordinary job, along with imperialist forces throughout the world, in crushing a revolutionary movement and redefining what it was we were about, and replacing the genuine leaderships of dignity of our movements, murdering Malcolm X and replacing him, murdering King and replacing him, destroying the Black Panther Party. I spent years in prison myself, and this meeting was never supposed to happen again. And now we're happening at a much higher level, because the first time in history, the African people has access to its own revolutionary working class party that leads this struggle, and not some struggle around some kind of abstract, nonsensical issues like against racism and what have you. You know, that's a horrible struggle that makes the assumption that African people don't have any material interest at all. We don't have any interest at all. We just want white people to like us, which is just an obscenity. And while it might make a lot of white people feel good about yourselves, the reality is African people are people. We want to be free. And people have raised struggles, revolutionary struggles all around the world around this question. And in the 1960s, it was not simply the African movement that was struggling for freedom and independence, the height of the struggle of people in Vietnam. It was also that struggle fell in the wake of the successful struggles of people in China and India, fighting against colonial domination to be free. And it followed the wake of the struggle that happened in Cuba. It opened up a whole new era of revolutionary struggle of people trying to be free, whether it was from the US-imposed Somoza regime in Nicaragua, even that struggle that occurred in Iran, where the people had to fight against the US-imposed dictatorship, Shah Pahlavi. The struggles of the peoples around the world have been for freedom. And now we have this absolute total control of destruction, murder, mayhem, mass arrest of people who were fighting for revolution, and a total change of the narrative. So a lot of people didn't know, but you do. And I really want to welcome you, because you have such a splendid opportunity to begin to participate in making history and reintroducing to your communities and supporting the efforts of a genuine revolutionary movement to make fundamental change, because the entire edifice, the entire imperialist, capitalist, exploitative machinery rests upon the backs of colonized people, Africans in particular, not just here, but throughout the world, whether that's in Haiti, whether that's in Jamaica, whether that's all over the African continent, Africans in particular. That's why the brutality is always there. You cannot keep a people under colonial domination without extreme violence all the time. So when we see what happened in Minneapolis, it was not an extraordinary thing. The fact of the matter is that's what's necessary to maintain colonial domination. And even the philosophy, the philosophical underpinning of this whole system is what people refer to as racism. That's the thing that arms white people, mobilize white people to carry out the mission of colonial domination and colonial terror against African people, and have a certain kind of solidarity with the colonial entity that oppresses the rest of us. I just want to express my appreciation for your being here, because we intend to be free. And we can build a situation where the world's people can be free. And that the exploitation that you may not even be conscious of. I mean, there are people who are married to this social system and so tied to it, cannot even imagine having a life without this connection, but everybody can be free. Because the reality is that if there's exploitation, oppression any place on the planet Earth, it is tied to maintaining this oppressive relationship to Africa and the colonized peoples of the world. We're breaking out. And I really want to just salute you for stepping forward and actually disentangling yourself with this nasty social system that has its birth in slavery and in genocide of the indigenous people here, and continues to move towards enslaving peoples around the world. This system is in trouble. You can see it. Even Trump's threat about the military, even Trump in China, I don't know if you know it, but Trump and his forces were talking about how the Chinese people are oppressing people in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is China. It is not England, despite the fact that England held that under domination for more than 100 years. Hong Kong is China. So they talked about how China, has done all these horrible things by trying to take over Hong Kong, and how oppressive it was. And the response from China, from the spokesperson from the China, what they tweeted was, "I can't breathe." And I thought that was a statement of just how influential this struggle is. Please continue to work and deepen your solidarity with the African People's Socialist Party and the struggle of African people, which, by the way, is the same as deepening your solidarity with the oppressed peoples of the world. We'll build a new world. That's what we're doing, and we're winning. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Uhuru. Everyone, wherever you are, we can't hear you, but you should applaud right now. This was an amazing meeting. I salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela. I salute the African People's Socialist Party, Director Akilé, APSC Chairwoman Penny Hess, and all of you, our new members, including Mackenzie, who joined since I announced all of those other names. So you don't have to stop. If you haven't joined yet, you can go ahead to uhurusolidarity.org/join and get on the winning team. So just want to salute all of you and thank everybody. And I want to unite with what was said earlier. We need this political education from Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Come to the Sunday studies every Sunday and go on YouTube. Seriously, spend hours watching Chairman Omali Yeshitela's speeches and presentations and studies. It will change your life. So please do that and come every Sunday on the Chairman's Facebook page, Chairman Omali Yeshitela on Facebook, and the Burning Spear on YouTube to watch Omali Taught Me Sunday Studies. I also want to remind everyone that you can sign up by going to tinyurl.com/reparationsday for the big global day of action for reparations to African people. We're having a meeting tomorrow night to plan that. For everyone who joined, you can expect to hear from your regional coordinators. You're going to be invited to an orientation. And if you want to volunteer, you can go to uhurusolidarity.org/volunteer. So we want to thank everybody for participating in this momentous and historic meeting. And as Chairman has just laid it out, this is the future that is upon us right now. And the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and so many others will not be in vain. African people will win. African people will be free. And there will be reparations paid to African people. So we have to do our part. We have to play our role in this historic and revolutionary struggle that is unfolding. And we just want to close out. Wherever you are, you can say this chant with us. We say unity through reparations. So I just want to end by saying unity through
reparations.
Uhuru.